Sam, can you take us through what you think will happen starting Friday? Everything from existing players to free agents to training camp rosters. How busy will it be for you?
I'd like to be able to answer that question definitively. There's still some things being worked out. We're dealing with the same circumstances that every team is. I know that there's a group of people that are working incredibly hard to bring clarity to those things. What I can tell you is that there's been a tremendous amount of preparation put in place by our coaching staff and our support staff, and we'll be ready when we get clarity on exactly what we'll be able to do and when.
You kind of hit on what I was about to ask you. I mean, normally you have like 4 months or so for free agency. You got 16 days. I mean, talk about the challenges of that, I guess, and how do you get ready for something like that?
Well, I think the challenges are obviously condensed time. That doesn't necessarily limit your ability to prepare. You have to be adaptable without knowing what's coming ahead, and we will be. But I also want to stress that we're going to continue to focus on making the best decisions for our team, both in the short and long term, and not allowing the circumstances to allow us to make a decision that would be inconsistent with our processes in the past.
Sam, some have said with the condensed schedule it might favor a younger team, fresh legs. Others have said maybe it would favor a veteran team because they wouldn't need as much practice time. Do you buy into either of those theories?
I think the schedule is the schedule. Everybody has to play the same amount of games. I think it's going to be up to each team to prepare themselves on a day-to-day basis. And I've got tremendous confidence in Scott and our players that they're going to manage that and be ready to play each night.
If you do open Friday, do you expect everybody to be here, or do you see any obstacles to getting guys in on time?
We anticipate to have our group in place and ready to take the floor. That's not to say that there are, couldn't be some hiccups along the way. But as of now, we expect to take the floor and have our group in place.
What was your reaction to the schedule when you first saw it? Did you cringe? Did you go, we can do that? I mean, did you have an overall emotion?
We've never really focused on looking or overanalyzing the schedule. We got to play the amount of games, and we have to be prepared to do that. So looking at it, dissecting it, we just look at the first game and figure out how we can be best prepared to play on the 25th.
As the lockout continued, did you and Scott just say, okay, now we got to adjust this way, we got to tweak this? Was it a day-to-day adjustment for you guys?
Well, it was a lot of communication. We talked about a lot of different scenarios and tried to take advantage of the preparation time. But as I said before, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes. And, we're prepared and remain adaptable. But as I said before, the focus is going to be on approaching this like every other season we have and putting the work in, being consistent with overall approach and allowing the results to take shape from that.
Have you absorbed the new CBA as relates to the other one? And also, during the lockout, were you at all nervous hearing what Kevin Durant was doing?
So the first question, the CBA issue, I can't really comment on it until I'm given clearance to do so. So I have to stay away from that. And if and when I'm allowed to comment, I'll be happy to talk to you guys about that. Any questions you have. I can say it will be a long absorption process, obviously, when that does take place. In terms of Kevin, in terms of just off season.
Off season, flag football.
Oh,
Just playing all the basketball all over the place.
Well, one thing we know about Kevin is, he's an active guy. He's going to play, and I've got total confidence in him that the number one priority for him is always to be ready to perform at the highest level, and knowing him, he wouldn't do anything to jeopardize that.
Sam, the scheduling formula, forget who you ended up with, but not playing every team in the East twice and the way they did it in the West, is that something you signed off on? Is that something the Thunder was involved in, or was that just a total league decision? And how do you feel about the model of the schedule?
We don't really have any control over the schedule. I think the NBA did an excellent job of working through that and creating a system where we could get as many games in as possible. In terms of our opinion of the schedule itself, as I said before, as long as everybody else is playing the same amount of games, we're fine. When we show up to play, as long as there's 2 baskets that are 10 feet tall, we'll play. And it's up to us to be prepared to deal with, whatever the schedule is.
Sam, I guess you and Scotty have at least had a chance to shake hands with the guys as they've shown up here. What's your impression of how they manage summer workouts and what kind of shape they're in of the guys who are back here now?
Well, in an indirect way, it's actually been a good look at what we have, because what we've seen is a group of guys that we were confident going into the summer. We're committed to improve and get better. By the looks of the group as a whole, I think it's a testament to their commitment level. Of course, nobody's going to be in peak condition. It's going to be a little bit of a process to work through that, but all teams will be in that situation. But part of the reason we draft the guys we draft and we try to acquire the guys we acquire is because they put a priority on their profession and their craft, and based on some of the condition of the guys, we feel pretty good about that.
Sam, you mentioned earlier learning from the past. Your guys, most of them, did something they hadn't done before, and playing to the level that they did in the playoffs last year to the round. What do you think they learned most from that?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that you learn as you go through a process like that. But I think one of the things that helped us was we played some very different series. We played a series that we needed to show a lot of restraint against a very quick and team that wanted to push the ball and play with discipline. Obviously played a very physical series with Memphis. And then we also played a very tactical series with Dallas. All those experiences, I think, will help us. In addition to that is just the mental energy that it takes to go through a season like that. As we talked about before, high-performing teams, which is where we want to be on a consistent basis. Preparation, recognition of situations, attention to detail, and the importance of just concentration and mental energy, and those are the things that you find with the high performers. And I think we took strides in those areas last year, and I think we'll continue to get better as well.
Sam, how did Kendrick look? Because he talked late last season about how he wanted to use the offseason to really transform his body, get back in shape. How did he look to you?
He's going to arrive today. From all the reports that we received, he's had a very productive summer. And again, we anticipated that. Not a lot of people would have been back on the floor as quickly as he was last year. And he pushed himself incredibly hard to be able to contribute. And coming into this season, I know he has high standards for himself. We're excited to see him and see where he is. But it wouldn't surprise me if he comes back in great condition, in great shape, because he has that kind of a work ethic.
What are you looking forward to seeing out of Reggie Jackson this season?
Well, I mean, we've seen a lot of young players come through our program, and with Reggie, he'll be no different. I think how those guys work through the peaks and valleys of their own development is a telling sign. Competition level will be higher for him. He has a shortened training camp, so there won't be as much time. I'll be interested to see how he reacts to those situations and how he progresses through it. But anytime you have young players, from our experience, there's peaks and valleys. How they navigate that, how they respond to adversity, how consistent they are with their day-to-day approach. Those are usually important signs, and those can be developed as well. But we're excited to have him.
As a follow-up, real quick, are you at the point now where you have so many young guys who have come through this program, like you said? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you speak up?
Are you at the point now where you've had so many young guys come through the program, like you said, and you sort of rely on Scott to deliver, the expectations to a young guy like Reggie, or do you still pull guys like that, newcomers to the program aside and sort of set the tone early?
Well, I think it's for us. It's kind of an organizational thing. Obviously, Scott handles the expectations on the floor. He handles, the way that he wants those guys to operate within the lines on a day-to-day basis. The identity of our team, he shapes that. I think that what also helps us is that, like you said, we've had several players come through, so there is a little bit of an internal standard from a Durant, a Westbrook, and other players, and that's ultimately what we want to have. We want to have a certain way that we prepare, we compete, we evaluate, and we apply. And we're very fortunate to have not only Scott leading us, but also the work ethics and the and habits that players like Kevin, Russell, James, on down the line.
Your guys learning that mental energy that they needed during that playoff run last year, considering the condensed timeline and the way that games are really going to come at this team this year. How do you see that playing into what this team does this year?
Well, I think our preparation in the playoffs and the attention to detail that our coaches put into place was exceptional. And I think the value of preparation will be important for us, going through this shortened season. And again, I think our players and our coaches will be ready for that, and being able to draw on some past experiences, but also understand that, we'll probably be hit with some circumstances that are unforeseen. But that's the NBA. That's pro sports. How we respond and how we navigate those things consistently will be ultimately, what helps define us, not just this season, but also in the future also.
Sam, talk about the big man situation, particularly what you want from Nazi, either in how he teaches the younger guys or backs up Kendrick.
Well, in terms of like roles and responsibilities, those are things that Scott has to address and define. He has to make those decisions and will continue to do so. We'll support whatever it is that he feels is best for the team.